Hopefully you get to test out your arm, maybe throw the football around a little bit, and enjoy some of that fan stuff. As for the game on Sunday, who are you most looking forward to seeing play?
Well, of course, the Tom Brady, of course, it's not every time, their dynasty that they built, 9 Super Bowl appearances, and just being able to see him play live is I think, going to be pretty neat. My wife wouldn't let me wear my Saints skull cap because I would have liked to seen him and Drew Brees going against each other too, the old guys. But it didn't work out. But I'm real excited because I've always been a fan of Todd Gurley's, and I'm not really pulling for one team or the other, but I just sort of want to see the whole experience type of thing and just sort of take it all in. And my wife's real tickled about the whole thing, so it's been fun. Been real fun so far.
That's really cool. Kevin Sullivan, Hall of Fame high school coach in the state of Florida, coached at Jackson High School over there on Main Street, coached at Atlantic Coast, and most recently with Ed White High School, and recently retired for a second time. Did you retire for good?
For good.
Okay.
Head coach for good.
Head coach for good.
As a head coach.
All right. Well, then I know you saw the news. You probably knew the news, but Wayne Belger announced his retirement from the Bowl School. If they give you a call like in the next couple of minutes, you'll say no, not interested.
I say they haven't really called me, but somebody did reach out, and I told them no, thank you. You must not have seen my tweet Thursday then.
I did.
That was the first thing I said was, I'm not going to Baker County or Bowls. Number one, PSA.
Hey, good. I always say enjoy retirement, man. What do you think they will do? Bowls, obviously one of the biggest programs in the state of Florida, what Corky Rogers did. What would you advise them to do? Is it a Joey Wiles type, or is it a younger guy to kind of turn over that program and start fresh?
I think they're going to go, personally, I think they're going to go younger, just to turn it over. I haven't talked to anybody about it as far as like, hey, Joey would be great, Matt Toblin would be great. I think there's a bunch of good dudes in that area that I think would be outstanding. There's guys in that program that have coached, that are Bowls guys that are coaching. Funny, I text the OC at Memphis, Ryan Silverfield, that played at Bowls way back in the day, and I was like, hey, you applying for this? And he didn't even know about it yesterday. And he said, no, not yet for him. But I'm sure there's some guys that have played that are coaching, that we don't know about, that'll probably inquire about the job. But I feel that they'll probably go younger just because that sort of seems to be the new thing to do, going younger on everything.
Coach, you've had a kind of a first-hand seat as to being able to see what Bowls has done over these years. It's been so impressive and just so amazing, the consistency with which that Bulldogs program has competed and performed so well in the postseason.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. I always kid those guys. They're the greatest coaches I've ever been around, and especially the last 5 or 6, 7 years, I'd go watch practice, and, they look like they got kids. They've got a few kids, but they don't have mass quantities of kids and these big monsters and everything. And to see them and watch them and over the years, and it's been pretty neat watching them play and just sort of doing it with their guys and doing it their way, and, not getting caught up in everything and just sort of doing it with the Bowls way, I guess. And, hats off to, of course, Corky, and I was fortunate when I came to Jacksonville 20-something years ago that those guys sort of, reached out to me and took me under their wing a little bit in that, and sort of let me be a part of that from the outside, and coach with some all-star games and those things. But they've always been great. It's in the business as you get older, you know how it is. Things change, and that program's been able to sustain for all those years. It's tremendous.
Longtime coach in Jacksonville, Kevin Sullivan, on the phone with us. He is actually in Atlanta. Will go to the Super Bowl on Sunday. Won tickets to do so because of all his contributions to high school football and the impact he's had on kids over the last few decades. I want to leave you with this one more question. As you get out of it, where is the health of high school football in general, but more specifically in Northeast Florida?
Well, you know, the football's gotten a lot better over the years, not just in our county. And, you know, like this year with the 2 public schools winning it and having no private schools there, I think that's a tribute to what's gone on. There's some really good schools on the outlines, you know, over at the Oakleaf and Ponte Vedra, and, of course, down in the St. Augustine area. And Menendez had a great year in Baker County and that. I'm just a little bit worried about it. With the sort of Wild West mentality and all the transfers and all the stuff that's sort of going on in behind the scenes. I don't know if it's going to be good in the long runs. I don't know if the also-rans will ever catch back up. You know, when I went to Jackson many years ago, we were one of those down on our luck type of thing and built that program with our kids, the guys that wanted to be there. I don't know if that's as prevalent anymore, the pride of your school and the pride of why you play high school football and that. It just sort of makes me a little bit nervous of the things that I've seen go on in the last 3 or 4 years.
Well, one good thing, Coach, you won't have to figure out an RPI.
That is right, and that is true. That is true. And I think that's I've been there. I told somebody the other day, I said, you guys don't remember when the champion went. I was a head coach my first 2 years, and only the champion went, you know? And people look at me like, really? I go, yeah, 16 teams made it. That was it. And now it's, you know, but they're trying to do more things would make the regular season more important, and I could commend them on that, but I don't want to take away from the districts and everything. But you know, this will be the new thing, and then in 4 years there'll be something else. So they're trying. That's all I give them credit for. They're trying because there's a lot of things they don't have any control over. But at least they're trying to make it more competitive, and I think even what they did last year was more competitive, even though it didn't quite work out the way they wanted.
Kevin Sullivan here in Atlanta, Super Bowl 53. Enjoy the game. We're going to get you on more down the line on ESPN 690 because I love hearing you talk about high school football, and I even want to get your thoughts, and I don't have time for it right now, on this whole Georgia pay system compared to Florida pay system because we're losing good coaches just a little to the north of us. And I know you'll have some good comments on that. But down the road, we'll talk about that. Until then, have a fantastic time with your wife and at the game on Sunday.
Hey, I appreciate you guys. You guys enjoy yourself.
All right, Kevin Sullivan, Hall of Fame football coach in the state of Florida. Ed White, Jackson, Atlantic Coast. Because of his services, we got free tickets from the NFL to Super Bowl 53. How cool is that? How cool is the next guy we've got on? Allen Robinson, former Jags player, current Chicago Bear, and we talk about a lot of issues. His relationship with Blake Bortles, his relationship with Jacksonville, how close he was to signing a big deal right around the time he got hurt in Jacksonville. That's all next on ESPN 690. Welcome back here to Radio Row in Atlanta, Georgia. Super Bowl 53, Rams and Patriots just a couple of days away now. Brent Martineau on Action Sports Jacks on ESPN 690. And happy to be joined by Allen Robinson, the former Jacksonville Jaguars receiver, now Chicago Bears wide receiver. Always good to catch up with A-Rob. Haven't seen you in a while, but, man, we got to see you on the big stage in the postseason. Congratulations on a good year with the Chicago Bears. Congratulations on getting healthy. And really on that big stage, you had probably your best game of the year. That must have been fun.
I did. It was actually very exciting. You know, for me, from the prior year, you know, just having to watch the playoff games and everything like that, you know, I told myself that whenever I got my chance to really play in the playoffs, you know, that was something that I really didn't take lightly at all. You know, all week, you know, for it to be my first playoff game, you know, it was a moment that you wait for your whole entire life. You know, and I tell my dad that all the time. I remember being 6, 7, 8 years old, playing in my little league playoff games and stuff like that, you know, and just kind of how at that point in time, like what that meant to me, you know. So to be able to be in the NFL on the biggest stage in football, to have a playoff game and to be a part of that playoff game, you know, for me was definitely taken very seriously.
We hear that all the time, but you can't feel it. We can't feel it. You can, and you just did feel it. From training camp to regular season, two different animals. From regular season to postseason, two different animals.
Oh, definitely.
Was it, and what did it feel like? Why was it so different?
I think the physicality of the game, you know, changes. You know, I think the referees allowed both teams to really decide or try to decide the game by their play. You know, as far as just the physicalness of the game. You know, it wasn't many holding calls. I don't think it was maybe one defensive, illegal contact or pass interference, if you will, in that game. You know, and going into that game, that's what you know. You know that's going to be a very physical game. The referees are going to let you guys play. You know, it's not going to be any ticky-tack penalties or anything like that. You know, and for me, I think that really plays into my part as a receiver as well. You know, being able to be a little bit more physical, you know, at the line of scrimmage, maybe at the top of the route, you know, and it was fun. It was a very fun game.
That's what I was thinking. As you're describing it, I said, oh, that's perfect for A-Rob.
Most
that's your game. Go wrestle the football away from somebody.
You know, and it was to me, I mean, it was the most exciting game of the year. You know, just as far as, you know, just kind of how the game was being played, the energy involved with the game and everything.
Let me take you back a little bit then. How tough was last year with the ACL, first play of the game, essentially in Houston? And then the Jags have this success. You had to live through the misery, right, of those seasons. So you had been part of that.
Most definitely.
And to not be able to participate and be a factor, and boy, I don't know where you would have helped take this offense if you were a factor in 2017, but how tough was that mentally for you?
It was extremely tough. You know, I remember leaving the wild card game against Buffalo at halftime. You know, being down on the field for that game and seeing the stadium be sold out, you know, for me personally, I had never saw or felt that kind of energy in Jacksonville the whole entire time I was there. You know, so to really be a part of, you know, the 3-13s, the 5-11s and everything like that, to see that wild card energy and to see, you know, what could have possibly shaped up of that season, you know, I mean, it definitely was frustrating. You know, it was very frustrating, you know, especially for me, because I feel like me personally, I had the best offseason, you know, and me specifically, I was extra honed in that offseason, not because it was just my contract year, but also because, you know, for us as a team and for me as a player, I had a statement to prove. You know, I had an awesome year in year 2. You know, year 3 didn't go so well. So year 4 for me, you know, was definitely big, you know, and I knew that, you know, and I knew that for me as far as, you know, I just wanted to be that player that everybody had saw before, you know. So again, for me, I put a lot into that.
I tell you what, I've been around there more than a decade now, and I think you had one of the best training camps I've ever seen going into. I mean, you had put the work in, you had played so well. If everybody can get their mind back to not last year's training camp, but the year prior when you were out there, you had a tremendous camp. You were catching everything. So I know what you're saying, and for it to all fall apart. But so you really left at halftime of the Buffalo game? You couldn't take it anymore?
Yeah, it was a big thing of it too. Was I had left because for me I had been leaving because of the traffic and everything like that, being injured and stuff, and that's kind of what they advised me. I mean, I could have stayed the whole game, you know, but it was also just a feeling, you know, when I was there, and again to just kind of see how the stadium erupted after the national anthem and everything like that, you know, it was tough. Yeah. You know, me personally, it was the toughest game that I had to watch from the sideline since I've been in the NFL, you know, and I think the biggest thing of it was, you know, the game after that and even the New England game, both of those were away, you know, so it was a different feeling. Yeah. You know, to be able to see how Jacksonville was, you know, in that wild card game, you know, was pretty unique. I mean, it was something that I hadn't saw before, you know, being there for 4 seasons.
Well, we talk to guys all the time when they get hurt, and they say it's almost it can be depressing at times when you're hurt, because you're so separated from the guys that you go to work with and you know and you love, but you're so. And that's a perfect example of it right there.
Definitely. You know, I mean, it's a big separation. You know, for me, a lot of guys and coaches and everything still came in there and checked on me, you know, throughout the course of my rehab and everything like that, you know, but it's nothing like being out on that grass with those guys. You know, it's a totally different feeling. No matter how much guys check on you, no matter how much you're involved in meetings or anything like that, you know, it's just not the same.
How did you help Marquise? How much contact in terms of talking to him? Because when Marquise signed, he was first of all surprised that he signed and got a deal because he thought the money would go toward you. And then I remember him telling us, saying, hey, it's tough without A-Rob, man. That was my guy. So I know you're pretty close.
Yeah, definitely.
And then he gets hurt like that, like you had done the year prior. Did you help him through it?
Yeah, you know, I'm just staying in contact with him, you know, just kind of letting him know some of the steps along the way. You know, I mean, I've told him that, you know, it's going to be times where, you know, it's not easy at all, you know, where you're just going to want to wake up and be 100%, you know, but at the same time, you still have to mold your body and still have to contour your body to be back to that standpoint, you know, and it is frustrating, you know, and for a guy like Marquise, you know, I know that he'll be back, you know, and And he has the work ethic, he has the athletic ability, he has everything to bounce back from something like that, so, but at the end of the day, as well, like I said before, it's just a process, it's a process that you have to mentally stay strong through.
The week before the